Hello Year 7, over the last few weeks you have looked at how to build an algorithm, how to debug things, and you've looked at using selection statements. That's on top of all the work you'd already done on variables, lists, and using the random module. I thought I'd start this week's lesson with a bit of a challenge. So on the screen in front of you there is some code, and so we've got 4 lines of code, and the code is supposed to give you a prime number when you run the code. Unfortunately, there are some bugs in the code. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this on the screen for a minute, just so you can have a look, and I want you to see if you can find where the bugs are and what you would need to do to correct these bugs. I will see you in 60 seconds. Okay, your minute is up, so let's see how many of these you have spotted. So the first one is on the first line, where it says input random. Input is a reserved word, but it's not the one we want. We want the word import, I-M-P-O-R-T, import random. So that'll import the random module. There is also a problem with this list name here, because you can't have a space in the name of your list or a name of a variable. So there's a space here. You could change it by just deleting the space. You could put an underscore in there, but you can't have a gap there. The list itself appears to be fine. And then we've got another variable here being made called prime. Prime equals choice.random from list name. So these need to be the other way around. It should be random.choice. And then our list name needs to be changed, as we've already said. And then you've got print prime as a prime number, but this word prime isn't going to be referring to the variable prime at the moment because it's inside speech marks, so you need to get rid of those speech marks, otherwise it will write the word prime, so you get the variable. So if you make those changes, then you should be able to make this algorithm work. Okay, let's look at the main activity that we're going to look at today. So you are going to be using your programming knowledge to try and figure out what a code does. So here's an example that we could work through together. Okay, so we've got this algorithm from start to finish. Now we haven't looked at these before. This is a function that I've made, and we'll talk about those in the future more so. But basically, what this allows me to do, it allows me to loop a bit of code over and over again. But we're going to just read through it a line at a time now. So we've got import random, so we know that it's going to bring in the random function. Then we've got a variable, and that variable is going to, from random module, it's going to use randint, which we've used before, and it's short for random integer, so it's going to pick a random number between 1 and 100. Okay, it's then going to print that number, so it's going to print the variable num, which is that random 1 to 100. If the number is, now this is a mathematical symbol I don't think we've used before in Python, but you'll know it from your maths. So if the number is less than or equal to 10, then it's going to print game over. But if it's not less than or equal to 10, it will go to this elif, and it'll say if the number is larger than or equal to 11 and the number is smaller or equal to 89, it will say try again. And then the final elif, it says if number is greater or equal to 90, it will print winner. So just by reading through that code, you might have an idea of what this does. It picks a random number, and then it says if it's less than 10 you lose, if it's anything between 11 and 89 you try again, and if it's above 90 you're a winner. So it's a random number game that shows whether you've won or not depending on what number you get. Okay, and just by reading the code you should be able to start to unpick what this does. So I'm going to give you a code now that you're going to work on and see if you can figure out what it does. So again, we've got this little loop function, and this allows us to loop over and over again. We've got result equals and square brackets. Now that's a list. It's an empty list. It's a list. And then it says user is a variable, and then you've got int. So we've got int, which is short for integer. And then it says input any number. Then the product equals user, and that's multiplied by user. If the product is in result, then loop, so it will go back to the start. If it's not, then the result gets appended to the product. And append is a word we've used when we were talking about lists before, so you might need to go back and think about what does append mean. And then you print the result and then loop back again. Right, I'm not going to go any further than that. I've read through the code. I don't want to explain anymore because that's the challenge today, for you to figure out what this is doing. So what I'd like you to do is have a go, predict what you think each line is doing. So you could even go through and label each line, say, right, this line does this line does that. See if you can figure out what this code does. And then try and write an explanation of the overall purpose. What is it doing? What's its job? Once you've done that, you could then build the code and see if you're right. Okay, so predict first and then build the code to see if you are right. So our learning intention is to understand the structures of a high-level programming language, as it has been throughout. We're trying to learn more about Python. The bronze is to identify the lists, variables, inputs, and prints in Python. So look at that code, look at that algorithm, and try and identify the lists, variables, inputs, and prints in that code. The silver is to identify the functions and the mathematical symbols in Python. Okay, so functions, we've talked about those a little bit. See if you can spot those. Explain the functions and the if-in statements used in Python. And then if you get all that done, here's a little challenge for you. Could you create a Python program that finds the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle when you give the program the length of the other two sides? Okay. Now, you'll find on the VLE, just below this video, there is a picture copy of the code. So you'll be able to look at this code on there. So you haven't got to have the video on. You can look at the code and make your predictions and then build it from there. What I would like submitted is I'd like your written explanation of the overall purpose of the code. So I want to know, what do you think this code does? I hope you guys are all right. I hope to see you all again soon. Look after yourselves and good luck.